gray fabric of my interior seats that collected multicolored crumbs from the snacks I'd packed for him to eat along the way. There was the heather gray practice jersey that he changed into along our route that magically transformed him from a student into a committed athlete. And there were the many shades of gray asphalt that extended the 10 East Freeway as far as our eyes could see as we sat idle on top of it and inched our way to the eastern edge of the city at a pace my speedometer could barely record. Sometimes a stiffness in my lower back and a burning in my strained eyes prompted me to test his ambitions. "Are you sick of this yet?" I would ask, full of hope. His reaction surprised and enlightened me. "No way, I love it. We eat, we talk, we listen to music, and I love my team. What could be better?" He was right. What seemed like insanity at the time was, in retrospect, perfection. As I made my way closer to Expo Park on this winter morning, my memories skipped further back to when my son was 9 and joined his first team in East Los Angeles, just as he had begged us to let him do. That's when I accepted that driving to and from practices and games in this crowded city can actually take longer than the practices and games themselves. That's when I first started calculating the time and expense that families of all kinds were sacrificing so their children could play the game they loved. That's when I stopped to question whether my husband and I were supporting my son's dreams or simply indulging them. The analysis always led me to the same conclusion. He was the unusually coordinated toddler who kept a ball at his feet since the day he was handed one. He was the curious explorer who discovered his own talents and nourished them with love and enthusiasm to grow. He was the observant little boy who recognized that the soccer clubs in our neighborhood could not satisfy his hunger for the game. And unbeknownst to us at the time, he was the flashy, sparkling spirit who was born with a much faster clock than the rest of us and had a fearless urgency to become what he loved. We could only do so much to support him, and we did all that and more. But ultimately, he was the one who had to perform, and because he did, Europe inched closer. Now, when I spotted the iron gates of Expo Park, I became sadly aware of how drastically my circumstances had changed. I had no one to pick up, no snacks to pack, no practice to ultimately watch. I pointed my chin straight ahead as I passed the metro station, drove through the northern gates of the park, and found a parking spot in an empty lot to the south that would soon be full. I shut off my engine, stared through my front windshield, and tended to the thoughts streaming in through the top of my head, which was tingling. Then I spoke out loud in the privacy of my front seat. "I know you're here with me. If you send me a sign, I will look for it." I grounded myself with a deep breath, stepped outside of the car, and walked toward the stocky white concrete building that had Los Angeles Swimming Stadium in mid-century modern font neatly stuck on the front of it. In a slightly smaller font below it, I found what I was looking for: Department of Recreation and Parks. As I approached the front door, 2 hummingbirds nearly grazed my left arm before landing on a tree right in front of me. Perfect timing, I thought. You're here. I walked up to the second-floor auditorium, kissed my husband hello, hugged my younger son, and was instantly overwhelmed by the number of friends and colleagues who had taken the time to make the same trek toward downtown to support us. It was ironic we had all driven 40 minutes east in morning traffic to Expo Park to discuss a West Side park, Westwood Park, the relatively small, obscure one located only 5 minutes from most our homes. But just as I had surrendered to the universe when my son departed, I had surrendered to the ways of city government. This is all part of some carefully designed plan, I told myself, a survival method that gave me hope. The regularly scheduled bi-monthly meeting held by the Board of Recreation and Park Commissioners began promptly at 9:30 a.m. I took a seat next to my husband and prepared myself so I was ready when it was my turn to speak. Project, be concise.